The desert doesn't forgive mistakes. It doesn't care who you are, where you come from, or how strong you think you are. Out there, under a burning sky, survival becomes a question of minutes, not days. And sometimes people don't just get lost, they disappear completely. In 1994, something happened in the vast emptiness of the Sahara that still feels almost impossible to believe. A trained athlete, a disciplined police officer, a man surrounded by over 100 competitors, suddenly vanished. No scream, no trace, no body. One moment he was there, running alongside others, and the next he was gone, swallowed by endless sand. But here's the twist. 9 days later, that same man reappeared, alive, broken, and with a story so terrifying, so unbelievable, that even today people struggle to understand how he survived, or why the desert didn't take him forever. This is not just a story about getting lost. This is a story about fighting death itself, and somehow winning. It begins in Italy with a man named Mauro Prosperi. On the outside, his life looked stable, even ordinary. He was a police officer, disciplined, focused, and physically strong. But deep inside, he carried a restless energy, a need to push himself beyond limits most people wouldn't even consider. He wasn't just a cop, he was an athlete, and not the kind who trains casually on weekends. Mauro was obsessed with endurance. He loved the pentathlon, a sport that demands skill, precision, and extreme mental strength. Fencing, swimming, horse riding, shooting, and running. It wasn't just physical ability. It was about control, focus, survival under pressure. That mindset shaped him. Every morning, every training session, every competition, it all built something inside him. A belief that no matter how hard things got, he could push through. And then one day, everything changed. A friend told him about a race. Not just any race, one of the hardest races on Earth, a race across the Sahara Desert, over 250 kilometers, 7 days, no support except water at checkpoints. Everything else, food, equipment, survival gear, carried on your own back. It sounded insane, but to Mauro, it sounded perfect. He didn't hesitate. He signed up. Training began immediately. Long runs under the sun, reducing water intake to prepare for dehydration, pushing his body to exhaustion, then pushing even further. This wasn't just preparation, it was transformation. By April 1994, he was ready, or at least he thought he was. The race started in Morocco, a remote, unforgiving region where the Sahara begins to show its true power. There were 134 participants, all experienced, all determined. But in the desert, experience doesn't guarantee survival. The first few days went as expected. Harsh conditions, yes, but manageable. Blazing heat during the day, freezing cold at night, endless sand dunes, rocky terrain, salt flats that cracked underfoot. Everyone ran alone most of the time. The desert was too vast to stay close. You followed markers, you trusted your compass, you kept moving. Mauro was doing well. Strong pace, good focus, confidence building with every kilometer. But what nobody expected was how quickly everything could change. It was the fourth stage of the race, the longest and most dangerous part. The sun was brutal that day. Temperatures climbed past 45 degrees Celsius. The air itself felt like it was burning your lungs. Mauro pushed ahead, separating from others. He wanted to gain time, to prove something, maybe to himself more than anyone else. Then he saw it. A small swirl of dust forming in the distance, a desert wind picking up. At first, it didn't seem dangerous, just another part of the Sahara. But within minutes, that wind turned violent. The sky began to darken, sand lifted into the air, visibility dropped. What started as a breeze became a full sandstorm. And Mauro made a decision. He kept running. He believed stopping would be worse, that standing still might bury him alive. So he pushed forward, trying to follow the race markers. But here's where everything went wrong. The storm erased the trail. The markers disappeared, and Mauro started seeing things.
Shapes in the distance, shadows that looked like direction markers, but they weren't real, just illusions created by the storm and his exhausted mind. He kept moving, but not in the right direction. Hours passed. The storm didn't stop. By the time the wind finally calmed, the desert looked completely different. Endless dunes in every direction. No tracks, no signs of other runners, no checkpoint. That's when it hit him. He was completely lost. Night was coming. The temperature dropped rapidly. His body was damaged, skin burning, throat dry, nose bleeding from inhaling sand. Still, he held on to hope. Morning would come. He would find his way. But the next day didn't bring answers. It brought reality. He climbed a high dune, scanning the horizon. Nothing. Just sand. Endless, silent, unforgiving sand. His water supply was almost gone. And that's when survival instinct took over. He did something no one ever imagines doing. He drank his own urine. It wasn't a choice. It was survival. Hours turned into another day, and another. At one point, he heard something. A helicopter. Rescue. Hope. He fired his flare immediately, but the sun was too bright. The light from the flare disappeared in the glare. The helicopter passed without seeing him. And just like that, hope faded again. He realized something terrifying. No one was coming. This wasn't a race anymore. This was a fight to stay alive. Days blurred together. Hunger clawed at his stomach. His body weakened. His mind began to slip. Then, on the 6th day, he found something unexpected, an abandoned structure, a small, ancient shrine. It felt like a miracle. He went inside, hoping for water, for people, for anything. But it was empty. Just silence. Still, it gave him shelter, a place to rest, to think. But his biggest problem remained. Food. That's when he noticed them. Bats hanging from the ceiling. What happened next shows how far a human can go to survive. He caught them, killed them, drank their blood. It sounds horrifying, but in that moment, it was life. He survived on bats, insects, anything he could find. Days passed like this. His body turned skeletal. His strength faded. And then came the darkest moment. He believed it was over, that he would die there, alone, forgotten. So he made a decision. He wrote a farewell message to his family, and then he cut his masts. He lay down, waiting for death. But something unexpected happened. He didn't die. His body was so dehydrated, his blood had thickened so much that it didn't flow properly. The bleeding stopped on its own. He woke up, alive. And in that moment, something changed inside him. It was like the desert itself had rejected him, like death had refused to take him. And instead of giving up, he stood up again. With a new determination, he left the shrine. This time he moved differently, carefully, slowly, using his compass, traveling during cooler hours, resting during the heat. He ate whatever he could, roots, small creatures, even snakes. Every step was pain, but he kept going, until finally, on the 9th day, something changed. He saw life, green patches in the distance, an oasis, water.
He reached it, barely able to stand, drank slowly, painfully. His throat couldn't handle much, but it was enough. And then he saw something even more unbelievable. A human. A young girl tending goats. For the first time in days, he wasn't alone. But his appearance terrified her. He looked like a ghost, thin, broken, covered in dirt and blood. She ran away. But she came back with help. Local villagers took him in, fed him, helped him recover just enough. Eventually, he was taken to authorities. And here's the shocking part. He had crossed into another country. He had wandered nearly 300 kilometers off course. When he finally contacted his family, they couldn't believe it. They thought he was dead. The race had already moved on. The world had moved on. But Mauro hadn't. He survived. Doctors later said it was nearly impossible. His organs were severely damaged. His body had gone beyond normal limits. But something kept him alive. Maybe it was his training. Maybe it was his mindset. Or maybe it was something deeper. The emotional impact of what he went through didn't disappear overnight. You don't walk away from something like that unchanged. He had faced death, not once, but multiple times. Hunger, thirst, isolation, madness, he experienced all of it. And yet he came back. Stronger in some ways, broken in others. His family saw a different man, someone who understood life in a way most people never will. Every small thing, water, food, shelter, now had meaning. And the desert? It didn't scare him anymore. In fact, it called him back. Years later, he returned to the same race, not once, multiple times. It sounds unbelievable. Why would someone go back to the place that nearly killed them? But for Mauro, it wasn't about fear anymore. It was about understanding. The Sahara had taken him to the edge and shown him what he was made of. And maybe he needed to face it again, not to conquer it, but to respect it. Because in the end, this story isn't just about survival. It's about the limits of the human spirit. How far can a person go when everything is taken away? When there's no help, no hope, no guarantee of tomorrow? Most people would break. Some would give up. But a few keep going. Even when death feels certain. Even when the world disappears around them. They keep moving. Mauro Prosperi didn't just survive the Sahara. He faced it, lost everything, and still found a way back. And maybe that's the real mystery. Not how he got lost, not how he survived, but how after everything, he chose to return. Because sometimes the scariest places don't just test us, they reveal who we truly are.